All right, so today we're going to talk about how you can take the next steps in that object drawing, including creating a simple background and building up layers of shadows. All right, so we're going to be talking here about building up our image, and the first thing I want us to think about is the background. Now, my drill is placed next to a whole lot of other stuff. There's objects next to it, there's walls, windows, lots of complicated things going on around it. But for this drawing, I don't want to distract from just the drill. So I'm actually going to ignore everything else that's going on around this drill, and I want to focus just on that. And so for the drawing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple table line, and what that's going to do is it's going to establish that the drill exists in a space, okay, realism, make it seem more like authentic, but it's not going to distract like maybe some of the other objects might. Now, the idea is we're going to pretend the drill's not where I placed it, but actually just sitting on a lovely table all by itself with nothing else around it. And to do a table line, I'm using my 2H pencil again, because it's going to be light. I'm going to think about drawing a horizontal line in that'll represent the back edge of a table. Now, when you're doing a table line, what you want to think about is you don't want to do it dead center. Okay, we're trying to avoid things that go through the center because that's kind of a boring way to do it. Your table line, you either want to go above center or below center. The other thing you want to think about is it's got to look like this is actually sitting on a table. So if I put a table line right here, it looks like the drill is floating above the table as opposed to being on it. So with my placement, I'm going to put the table line right about there. So it's in the bottom third of the photo. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not using a ruler, I'm going light. And I'm just thinking about it. Boom, you can see light. There we go. Got it nice horizontal. And what that does is it's going to establish that I have a table and background. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I want to make the background, that's not the drill and not the table, different than the table so that they look separate. And we're going to do with a concept that's called contrast. The idea is contrast is when you put two things next to each other that are different and they accentuate each other. So in this case, we're thinking dark and light. If I put a dark object next to a light object, they make each other pop. They make each other seem different. Okay? You'll notice all over on your objects that you've got shadows and highlights, and oftentimes the very brightest part of your object is going to be next to the very darkest part, and that's contrast. Now, my object, the drill, has some very, very dark parts. Okay? Even in those black spots, though, there's some highlight and everything like that. But I want to avoid going too dark in my background because my object is kind of dark. But the idea is that table line, using my 2H, I'm just going to start shading in using small strokes. You can see I'm holding the pencil way back towards the back end of it. I'm going in multiple directions. Okay. And I'm laying in a light gray. And that's what I'm going to do for this background. Is just going to make that space a light gray area. And that makes the background look different than the table. It lets your viewer know that you have two different things going on. Now you can see you can go loose, crazy, you can go really, some people like to go really small. And I'm building it up. The other nice thing is, you're going to notice by doing the gray, it makes that outline you might have made for your object start to disappear. And that's important because in real life, things don't have an outline. It's not like a comic book. You're not walking around with a heavy black outline around you, neither is an object. And I'm going to do it on this side. Now, the back side of my drill is going to be really dark. That's why I'm going to keep the background to a gray. And you can just slowly build this up. You can even do things where it's slightly darker next to the object and it gets lighter as it fades away to the edge. The idea is just to slowly build it. It'll create a simple background that won't distract from the object. Now, you would keep working on that, but I'm also thinking, hey, I want my object shadows to be darker, so I'm going to switch up to my next level of pencil. In this case, I'm going to a B. And using a darker pencil, I'm still not going with really heavy pressure, but what I'm doing is I'm going to start building up another layer of shadow. So for those darker areas. Not only is the heavier pencil going to give me a much darker shadow, but by doing it one pencil at a time, I'm building what we call depth. I'm making the object drawing seem more realistic and three-dimensional than it really is. You want to build your drawing up over time. Okay? And you're going to notice that because of that layout, I don't have to worry about outlines like I might have done when I started drawing. I can worry about form. We're changing those lines into forms, into shapes. Alright, and this handle part super dark. So my next step after the B, I would go up to, say, a 2B, or in this case I'm going to jump to a 4B, just so we can see. Again, really light pressure. And it's really dark on the edge, but as it goes towards the front, that's where the light's coming in, it gets lighter. So I might not take this shadow all the way over like I did with the B. I might just want to get the edge a little darker. Again, I'm not drawing with really heavy pressure, it's just that the 4B is a lot looser, smoother, more graphite, softer. It naturally wants to be darker. So I'm going to keep building it up and I would keep going. So at this point, head back to that 2H if you need to, then go to your B, your HBB, 2B, all that. Keep just building it up slowly. So there we used our different pencils to create different layers of shadows. We built it up slowly, getting slightly darker as we went because that created more depth. It made the object drawing look more real, okay, almost like you could touch it. We also simplified the background. We used the concept of contrast, dark next to light, to make the object pop out more without overcomplicating the background. These are some simple tricks that will help you make an object drawing look real and stand out to your viewers. Good luck!